If you're running a home service business without budgeted hours, your pricing and your efficiency are probably off. Let me break down how we can fix that. What is budgeted hours? So budgeted hours is the time on property. So whether you're an HVAC company or a lawn care company or an AV install company, it's the time that you're at your client's home where you're billing them when you're on site. I broke down a few examples here. So again, the budgeted hours is the expected time to complete a job. So you're always going to have a set time, or it's an estimate, obviously. So you think it's going to take an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, and you're just going to, gauge how accurate you are. That's what's going to give you your efficiency. So labor and materials in those situations, you're still going to have a set time for your labor portion and then whatever markup you did on your material. So in this example, let's say we're doing a mulch job. You got $100 of mulch, you got 2 hours for your one man, and then you got $100 delivery, and then you're going to just bill the client $400. So some guys think they can't break things down because they're like, well, I just need to send this. The client doesn't want to see this. So we actually do break it down like this. I don't necessarily give them the hour. I just say labor, and I just show them the materials. That's about all I'll do, and the delivery fee. Or if you just say, hey, it's gonna be $400, that's all they really care about. They may accept it or not accept it, but on the back end, you still need to know it was a 2 hour time. In this example right here, this would be for an AV company. So let's say they had a $700 TV that they bought. Well, that's not gonna go into that time, but they're charging $75 an hour. That's their thing. So 1.5 hours is $112.50 for your labor, and your delivery fee is $75. So this would be the total to the client. But the key here is just making sure that you know what your budgeted hours. So if you had a bunch of jobs to install TVs, you know how long it should be taking, and you can schedule that tech properly. That's the power of having the budgeted hours. Now that you know what budgeted hours are, some people wonder how you can calculate it. So you don't blindly assign an amount of time to it. You usually can calculate that while you work. So if you're on a piece of property or you're at that client house and you're doing a mulch install, or you're doing a mowing, or you're doing a tree trimming, just time how long you're there. So when you pull up in the truck, go ahead and start that timer, do whatever work you need to do. When you get back to the truck and you're closing up, go ahead and stop that timer. You want to get a nice list going so that you can add that time and average it out later. I'll give you an example. We use acres. Some guys use square feet. Doesn't really matter to me, but I do lot size. So 0 to 0.2 acres, let's call it half an hour. And 0.21 to 0.3, call that 0.65 hours. And 0.31 to 0.4, let's call that 0.75 budget hours. Now this might not be exactly what it is, but using this as an example. Or if you do square feet, you could do the similar thing where you break it up based on however you want to do the measurements or the gap. The way you would do this is, let's just say you have 3 different addresses and you got the size of their properties. Again, you're going to start that time and stop that time based on how long you're going to be there. So let's say this was 20 minutes and 25 minutes, and this is in this range. We would just average this together. But you'll obviously do this for a long list. So a few years ago, my dad and I decided to time about 70 our properties, and then we did exactly this. We just had 70 names, and we matched it up based on the size and averaged out the times. Based on those times and our hourly rate, which I'll show later, we just converted. So we had a way to standardly price our customers, and that way we were able to remove the emotions from the pricing. Now I'll put together how we're gonna use budgeted hours to get our pricing matrix. So let's say our target rate is 90 an hour. And we have the budgeted hours that we had before, which is the half, the 0.65, and the 0.75. So you're gonna multiply 0.5 times 90, that's gonna give you 40. So 40 becomes the rate for a half budgeted hour. So before, when we had that minimum, let's say they had that 0 to 0.2 acres, we know now that that's gonna be $45. That's the charge for that range. It's basically how you're gonna use this. And the 0.65 is gonna be 52. The 0.75 times 90 is gonna give you 60. So this is how you start building out your price matrix. You're just gonna go down through all those sizes or whatever metrics that you needed for your company, and you're just gonna get that standard pricing built out for you. Now, if you add someone, just remember you gotta multiply by 2. This is your target hourly rate per man. So if there's 2 guys, you gotta multiply that by 2, so it's gonna be 180. Now the control there is it won't be this time, it's gonna go down. So let's say you're 2-man and you timed it with 2 guys at 0.3 instead of 0.5. You want to multiply that by 180, but notice that it changed to $54 for the same range. And this is where you start losing money if you use a bunch of 1-man times and you don't calculate for the inefficiency of when you add someone. Or you just base it on 2-man. If you're running a bunch of 2-mans or 3-mans, you want to make sure that you have the right matrix built out. But this is just like a one-man example. Gets a little complicated with two-man, but you just use that same concept. Multiply this by 2 or 3, however, 5 if you got 5 guys, and just make sure whatever time that you have, you multiply it by that so it's even. Now I'll break down how labor efficiency can change a lot. So labor efficiency is budgeted hours over clocked hours. We're going to use a 9-hour example. You're going to work 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. in this example. So 50% means you worked only half the day. So you got 4.5 budgeted hours done. 75%, you got 6.75 budgeted hours. I'm multiplying a percentage by the clocked hours. And then you got 7.65 budgeted hours. So you got 85%. You want to be on this side. Random rule of thumb in the industry, let's try to be above 70%. You want more of your day productive than the other part of your day. So 4.5 budgeted hours against that $90 hour rate that we came up with, you're gonna make 405 in this day. At 75% labor efficiency, you'll make 607.50, and at 85%, you'll make 688.50. Notice that this is the same day, just more efficient on this side. So by being able to squeeze more budgeted hours in, maybe in this scenario, you're not making a lot of stops, your route is tight. Over here, maybe you're driving a lot or taking a million breaks. But what we wanted to show is you got the same rate to the client. It's 90 bucks in all these situations. You work the same amount of hours, but the difference would be how productive you were. So if you take this minus this, you're gonna get an extra $283 made throughout the day, or $31.50 an hour that you could have made working at 85% labor efficiency. And like I said before, this means the same rate to the customer during the same day. The money is the difference. You can make a lot more being more efficient. And this is where companies typically lose profits because they're not as efficient as they can be. Using budgeted hours can help you standardize a lot of your operations. Helps you with your pricing matrix, as we broke down earlier. So you got a half hour, or 0.75, or 1 hour. You can charge based on your price matrix instead of guesswork. Crews have a target. We know they're gonna be at that 70% now. So they're 70%, 75%, they have a target to aim for so they can be more productive throughout the day. You got accurate work. So let's say instead of, I don't know, we're just gonna put a most job on there. They might be there all day when they should have only been there 3 hours. So now we put that 3-hour job on there so everyone's on the same page. You can plan projects better, as I just mentioned. Easy to scale. You can train your admin staff or future GMs on how budgeted hours work and how labor efficiency affects our profits. Bottom line, budgeted hours help you gain control of your business because it touches a lot of things as far as like crew management, pricing, helping profitability, labor efficiency. So once you understand budgeted hours, you can choose which lever you're going to pull to help scale your business.